What were your directives and objectives from Derek?
He say, look, I have this album. I lost the mood track. It's a classic. A lot of people ask me if there's a way to do it. I say, okay, what if I split the stems, see how they're gonna sound, and then I take him from there. So I spent 2 weeks working on the file. And then when I was like happy with the result, I sent it to him, and then another 2 weeks silence. And then they came back and say, look, we love it. We want you to do the whole album.
The last few years have been super exciting for Gentle Giant fans because the band has been going through their entire catalog and remixing all their classic albums from the ground up. They take the multi-track tapes, they clean up every track, and then they remix it, and it sounds excellent. And they've put out a whole bunch of brand new vinyl, CD, and Blu-rays that include surround sound and Atmos mixes. So it's really awesome if you love Gentle Giant. However, there's one album that has been missing from this remix process, and that is In a Glass House. This is probably my favorite album of all time, and it's definitely my favorite Gentle Giant album. And it's a shame that it hasn't been able to be remixed because all of the CD editions of the album, they just don't sound that good. They're not that enjoyable for me to listen to. As much as I love the music, I just don't enjoy the sound of the music. However, on July 29th, 2026, there's a new release of a completely remixed In a Glass House. So how is this possible? Well, in 2026, AI makes this possible. I did make a whole video about that process, and we have here with us two special guests. Very rare interview with two guests here on Make Weird Music, but we have Ian Beabout, who is here from Shed Sounds Music. He is an expert in so many things progressive rock related. His knowledge of this kind of music is far, far beyond mine, and he is an Atmos and surround sound guy. Hi, Ian.
Hi, Anthony. Thanks for having me today. It's a real pleasure.
Thank you. And then even more special, no offense, Ian, we have Eber Pinheiro, who is here. He remixed the In a Glass House record. Now, you may be scratching your head going, how is that possible? Eber's going to talk about the entire process and share with us how this worked, doing a remix without multi-track master tapes. So, Eber, welcome.
Thank you very much, Anthony. It's a pleasure to be here.
You have quite a history. You've worked with artists like Ricky Martin, Santana, Jewel, Chick Corea, Stanley Clarke, Bebel Gilberto, so many amazing artists. And now you're working on Gentle Giant. How did that happen?
Wow, it's I was in shock when I first got the call. It's like there's a big fan of the band. I knew like how important they are for like the whole rock prog, and also like for music in general. I mean the things they did for music, they invented a lot of sounds, a lot of cool things, and I was like, wow, I can't believe it is happening.
Were you already a fan of Gentle Giant when you?
Yeah.
Oh, you were.
Yeah, I was a fan, and then like I have like a quick story. I have a great friend in Brazil. He was suffering with depression, and Gentle Giant was the band that like helped him to get up on his feet. And then like
Wow.
because of this whole emotion connection, and then like the next day Derek was here and working with me in the album. I was like, wow, this is crazy. And because that's the power of the music. I mean, you never know, right? The album that they made like in the 70s was helping my friend to get out of depression. And I'm talking like a really bad depression. And as not my words, but his words, like the music was the thing that helped him, not medicines, anything, the music. So it was like it's truly like, okay, this is like, giving like the right size of this, that thing was happening. That this, like, I have this band, this classical band, coming to my studio to work on this classic album. This is like, it's mind blowing. I guess it's mind blowing for anybody, for any engineer, for it's, and also especially having like a Derek Shulman on your side, like because he's not only the singer, he's like that, he has the whole career after he left Gentle Giant that was like, yeah, I was with, doing like a Monster of Rock in Russia. I was doing this, I was doing that. I was signed Bon Jovi. It's like every day, every session with him was like so many stories, so many things that I was blessed. I was like, as you mentioned, I work with like those type of artists in my career. I did like a chicoria at the Blue Note, the 70 years birthday. And I was, at the minute that I met him, I say, my pleasure, Eber. I work with at the Blue Note. He say, now you work for me. And this time of commitment, those big artists request, you're working for them, you 110% with them. You have to. Otherwise, you're not gonna, they expect this.
Yeah.
So I knew the challenge, it's in considering like this is like a classic album that everybody, as you say, you grew up listening to this album vinyl. Everybody, a lot of friends, people texting me, oh, we work on this album. I love this album. And wow, yeah, I'm stoked about it. Love it.
So one story, sorry, Ian, I just want to interject here.
No, go ahead.
Leonardo Pavkovic told me he was in Brazil with Derek, and they were talking about sort of the history of Gentle Giant. And Leonardo said, you have no idea what an impact your music has, even here in Brazil, across South America, huge progressive rock fans.
Yep.
And somebody came up to the table minutes later and said, are you Derek Shulman from Gentle Giant? And he said, yes. And the guy asked for an autograph, and Leonardo's telling him, your music's so impactful in South America. And it's decades later. And Derek, according to Leonardo, this was a real awakening for Derek. He did not realize that Gentle Giant, even though they'd never toured South America, that their music had such a big impact. Do you have any commentary from on that, response?
True. It's like I think on Spotify, Brazil is the second player, or if it's not the first. It's like it's insane. And as you mentioned, they never toured in South America. They never tour in Brazil. But Brazil, it's like really Brazilian people. They really like prog rock, and I think South America in general, like Argentina, Chile, Brazil especially. I saw like Iron Maiden Brazil, and even though I know it's different style, but I mean those bands they are really really big in Brazil. And I was mentioned to Derek, it would be great. Imagine if you go to Brazil, during like release the book, really, and do like a pocket show or something. But it's those dreams.
All right, Ian, why don't you kick off the first question about remixing and all the tools and techniques? Go for it.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Now, I'm curious, what were your directives and objectives from Derek going into this remix?
Well, directors was like the goal was never to reinvent the album. The goal was to like never move away from the original vision of the album. It's a classic.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, he wants to review some details. Oh, he wants like a more definition on the bass. He wants the drums to feel like more like full, more like warm. And, the directions were more like this. So when he came to the studio first time, they came because they mixed a live album. I think it was with a mixing engineer in Europe, in Sweden.
Mark.
Yes, yeah, thank you. And then they, because my studio is a Dolby Atmos certified room, they found me. They came to the studio, so they to a listening session to check the mix.
Mm-hmm.
So then was when I first met them, and then we had like 2 sessions, and then we really click, and then Derek really like start, when you do those big sessions, you have like a producers, you have Noah, you have like a people around, and you are the engineer. You're quiet. If you're smart, you're quiet. You don't say anything unless someone asks you. And then at one point, Derek asked me like, "Hey, what do you think? What do you like? How do you feel about it?" I had like a one comment or two, and then next, we click, we bond, and then end of the second session, he say, look, I have this album. I lost the tracks. I lost the mood track. I don't have it. It's a classic. A lot of people ask me to do a remix. I did a lot of remix. Steve did all the other albums, but this is the one that everybody really asked me to, if there's a way to do it. And then, I'm Brazilian. I don't give up easily. So he said to me, "Can you do something about it?" And then because by the time I also like a mix documentaries and films, so I was experimenting, and I'm always experimenting with technology. And I don't know why I was like 2 weeks ago or before Derek asked me, I was experimenting with like stems, split stems, because
Mhm.
some documentary, someone I had to remove music or remove dialogue or do something about it. And then when Derek asked me, say, can you do something about it? Say, well, let me try. Let me try. What are you looking for? I say, oh, he said, oh, drums, bass, da da da. Okay, cool. And I I try I've I did this like I like to call reverse engineering, because as a mixer, you always have the multi-track. You start, okay, I have the kick, I have the bass, I have the vocal. And then I'm finding like I have this classic album with stereo track. How are we gonna improve from this? It's not a master. I'm not remastering. He wants to remix, like improve a couple things. It's not like a one EQ on the master bus is going to do it. So I say, okay, what if I split the stems, see how they're going to sound, and then I take him from there. And that's exactly what I did. So the first mix, he say, look, work on the file. If you think you find something, send it to me. So I spent 2 weeks working on the file. And then when I was like happy with the result, I sent it to him. And then another 2 weeks, silence, say, cool, they might like it, they might not. And then they came back and say, look, we love it. We want you to do the whole album. And then like one thing that I did from the beginning was like, I import the original track into my session. So I had like a B, same level, just always matching.
Mhm.
Okay, it's feeling right. It's feeling different. What's like a trying not to go far from the classical, but also trying to feel the needs that Derek asked me to feel. So I was like always on this in this always comparing to the original. And then that how it happens, how everything started. I was like it's the first time that I mix an album uh, from the stereo tracks. I never did this before. It was like to me it was new too, And then
Mhm.
like I don't know, for people that watching us that I was always they if they play with split stems, that you have like some artifacts
Yes.
depending what software you use. That's the most problematic thing
Yeah.
with the artifacts, because it could sound completely terrible, and then
Mhm.
this was like the first. I think it took me a while to figure out like how this is gonna sound good, what software I have to use to get the sound that I want. It has to be natural, it has to sound right, otherwise it's pointless to do it.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I mean, you answered many of my other questions
Oh,
in the
sorry,
process
sorry
there. No,
if I've been too long.
that's great, but I mean, it's similar to my own process when I'm mixed in stereo. Anthony, did you want to take the next question?
Yeah, sure. So there's been a lot of conjecture about the use of AI for
Mhm.
the stem splitting and what software you used. I tried my own personal remix of In a Glass House using Moises and Fader and Logic Pro, and I could not get around the artifacting sounds. And for our audience who may not be familiar with this, could you explain sort of how these tools work and what the artifacts sound like, and just kind of walk them through the process? Because I want to say the remix sounds phenomenal.
Thank you.
It's surprising that you're able to pull out so much quality when all of the tools that I had used, it was there were some struggles. So I'd love to hear about what software you used, because Derek said it was very advanced software, not like commercially available, and we'd love to hear that whole story as
Um,
well.
I think like I try almost everything was at my disposal at the time, but I end up using Logic Pro. It sounds
Mm,
right to my ears. It's like this one, it sounds right. And then like they put out like a drums, bass, guitar and keyboards and vocal. And then like one thing I have to be familiar with, and then it's like you have to learn, and I had to learn, is imagine a puzzle, right? And then you have like, if you take one thing out, you're gonna miss it, right? But
mhm.
when it's everything's together, you can see the picture, right? The image. But if you take one thing out, you're gonna see the whole. So imagine like the split stems. It then I have drums, then I have bass, I have vocal, but you have little pieces of audio. I know it might sound crazy, but you have like a little piece of bass on the vocal and vocal on the keyboard, and then you have to work with those things because this is not like imagine if you are in the studio and everybody's bleeding in each other's mic. That's like a
Yeah.
probably the best comparison about this. So the minute that you have that I had this, I say okay, it sounds good when everything's together. So it has to be close as possible to the original, to the because otherwise the artifact's gonna start to pop out. So have to be very careful with EQ, very careful with things that are gonna touch, because otherwise, every time the artifact starts to bothers me, I say no, this is the wrong turn. I took the wrong turn. I have to step back. And then, back to that 2 weeks. During those 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks, I had to learn how to deal with this stuff because it wasn't new. It was new for me. It was like I never had to do this before. And so I have to learn the process, understand the process, and then apply. This is like was a learning curve to me. But it
Yeah.
was logic. It was like something that probably everybody, has it. But it sounds right. I can explain. It just sounds right. And when you mix in, when it sounds right, sounds right. It's like it's, you know.
So
Yeah.
how do you? Oh, I'm sorry.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead, Ian. Go for it.
Oh, I was just going to add that when I've used stem separation to make like minor improvements on a mix. And oftentimes I found that it'll sound great in this section, but then it'll create problems down the line. So, would you agree that it's actually harder to remix an album this way than, versus if you had the multi-tracks?
Oh, way 100%, 100%. It's way harder. It's like
Yeah.
it's challenging. You challenge yourself. It's like it's not like okay, I'm gonna push this instrument. It's like you know of course, even like it's a classic album. You're not want to be too far from the original. It's not you're not trying to reinvent the classic album, but you want to improve. How to improve, keeping the vibe, keeping the emotion there, and and having the band, the feedback of the band. Hey, can you add more of this? What if you what if you have like a little bit of more definition on the bass? And then for mixers, for us, we know that mix is like it's like a puzzle too. The minute
Hmm.
that you will open up the definition on the bass, the snare is not popping out that much because so it's everything is related. So
Hmm.
that was like who took us a lot of time, a lot of listening, and fine tuning, comparing to the original, finding to this is improvement. Now we push too far. Let's step back. Now it's like no, I think it needs like a little bit more edgy here. I need like more snare needs to hit better, or I need more low end on the kick, or stuff like that. So it was always like this, back and forth. Wasn't like you have the 16 track or 24 tracks,
Yeah.
you push the faders, and then you can EQ whatever you want. It wasn't
Yeah.
the case.
It's a give and take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
sorry, just adding like, about the sections. You're right. When you have like a very powerful sections, everybody's hitting hard. It's one thing. When you have like quiet sections, then it's even more challenge because
Yeah.
on those sections, it's more like a likely to hear like the things, the artifacts. So you have to be careful with balance, not disturbing those balance because there's a fine line there.
Yeah.
you mentioned use Logic Pro, and there are artifacts. So just for the layperson, I just want to say, like, Logic, like other software, is using artificial intelligence that like pulls frequencies. It takes the frequencies of known instruments out of a mix and puts it into their own tracks. And that's why you end up with the bleed, because sometimes a vocal frequency overlaps with the bass frequency, so you can't get true track separation. Uh, and since you're using Logic Pro, it's just all local on your machine. I know a lot of people have concerns about data centers and about, copyrighted music and all this. So everything stayed in your computer. But I found that with like the Logic track separation, there's a lot of artifacting, and I was just thinking, how on earth do you release a surround or an Atmos mix when, if the drums are over here, you're probably just going to hear some artifacting,
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
bleed. So how did you handle that element? And Ian, I'd
Yeah.
love for you to go deeper in the surround after Aber.
With Logic, it's like I'm a Pro Tools guy. But I know Logic, but I mix in Pro Tools. So, but Logic's better with a couple things. That's is a fact. It's faster, and then split stems is one of things like, Logic was faster and better. So I split on Logic, import into Pro Tools, and when it was inside Pro Tools, then I run into my, it's a hybrid mix. So everything was running into like a summing, Neve summing mix, SSL two bus, like the G plus compressor back into Pro Tools. So it's hybrid approach. Regarding the Atmos, then was like a different chapter of this process, because we did the album, band was happy, everybody was happy, great. We mastered the album. Then okay, let's do the Atmos. And then the minute that I start to, I open, okay, switch to Atmos, I notice exactly what you say. If I push too far, if I take this element and start to panning, like more like a let's put this way, more like a regular Atmos mix. You take the object, you put there, you put some a guitar on the left speaker, and then suddenly you have like something doing like a movement like this. It didn't work out. No, it's like it wasn't the case to do this type. The approach, I had to adapt the approach to. So the thing that I did was much more just gentle surround, instead like doing like a moving things apart from each other. Because the minute that I move things apart, let's say if I put the guitar on the object, the guitar was with the keyboard. So I was changing the balance, and also the artifacts was popping out right there. So the approach on the Dolby mix was much more like surrounding you, not doing crazy things, not like moving things too far from each other. That's what's the approach.
Well, that's great. I mean, I think you pretty much answered my question on the Atmos mix, because unfortunately I haven't had a chance to hear it. I have heard the stereo mix. Now, there was one observation that I had, and Anthony, I know you did as well. And that's that I think you did a lot of work strengthening the bass and drums,
Yeah.
particularly on songs like The Runaway and the title track, In a Glass House.
Mhm.
Was there any other process involved with the drums?
No.
Like, did you employ triggers, or is that
No,
the
no
natural
triggers.
sound off the tape? Cool.
No triggers. Just trying to keep like close to the original, as and then just like using EQ, trying to work with like a EQ, and that's it, basically. But the
Very
minute that you have the drums, you have more possibilities to EQ.
Sure.
I
And were you able?
honestly,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I could not believe some of the clarity you got on the drums. Aber, I was almost convinced, especially after talking to Ian. I was like, I don't know how that's the original snare. It sounds so fresh and it sounds new.
Yeah.
And I know in Logic you can do like drum replacement. And I thought, well, artistic license, why not? Why couldn't Gentle Giant use a modified snare sound or something? Because sometimes it sounded so clear and so good. I just thought there's no way he pulled that out of what the music that I know. And then
Thank you.
on the other side of it, I was surprised at some choices. For example, knowing that you're using AI or stem separation, that you left as much heat hiss, tape hiss in there when there are tools that can silence that. I'd love to
Yeah.
hear about the sort of compromises and the choices that you made around quiet moments, loud moments, clarity, those
Yeah.
kinds of things.
Yeah. I think like the his, talk about the his, I know exactly the section, the when they had the harmony and stuff.
Yeah, way
You
of
know,
life.
yeah, the way of life. You know, do you know what happens? It's like, okay, I have like a, as I say, a mixed documentary. I have like all the tools to deal with his. I'm dealing with his all the time. The problem when you have like it's the minute that I apply the his, I was changing the sound of the harmony. Like so it was a compromise that like okay, it does a his. Of course, it's an album from 70s. It has his. So we decide, like if Derek and I would say, let's listen with the let's take the his out. Great. Well, let's put it back. Yeah, feels better. And that's was the his is there. I know his is there, but it feels better for us. And then was like a okay, let's live with the his, because was changing the balance between like the harmon and I think it was the harmon and some another instrument doing like some layer on the background, and then like but the balance is changing. Because it's never only doing the his, you're doing the his, but that's you're affecting other things. So yes, that's his.
Yeah, in the comments, a couple of people, and I never advise reading the comments, but some people have said things like, oh, they're using reverb to cover up artifacting, or I can hear the artifacts, or, you see a lot of this kind of skepticism from internet keyboard warriors. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm sure you have faced all of these decisions and labored over them. Could you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's like I knew like I there's a bunch of classic albums that I like that some people, some other engineers remix that I'd rather like listen to the original one. So when I mix this one, I knew it's a hot seat, and then it's like a lot of people not gonna like it. Some other people gonna like it. As if I'm not erasing, we're not erasing the original. It's just like giving like a possibility for people to experimenting new possibilities to enjoy the same music they love. And on our side, we try to be close as possible, feeling wise to the original. Is There's a couple of things that probably gonna sound different. Yes, there is. That's like a more reverb here and there. Yes, but it's not like a decision that I took alone. It's the decision that we, we, because I'm work for them. There's some needs that some demands they want. I want this. Derek told me, I want this specific thing. How can you put like some reverb here? Can you use like a double? Can you double the solo? Can you? And I was using like this waves. I think it's ADT, like some Abbey Road stuff. Trying to use a couple things like that originated from that period. That like a lot of bands used from that time to be like even more on the ballpark. But yes, I mean, people, if they don't like it, yeah, it's completely fine. I get it. It's like it's I think it's part of some people they're gonna like it, some people don't. That's fine.
Ian, what were some of your, I don't know, highlight moments from this remix? I know we discussed a couple of songs where it was like kind of surprising at the sound change and the quality, the clarity.
Um, I definitely noticed more emphasis on Gary Green's guitar work, and I feel like that made especially the title track a lot more muscular, and it sounded much more like a rock song than the previous mixes. I don't know if you would agree with that take, but yeah, it made the music a lot more immediate to me.
Um, yeah, I definitely is more. It definitely is more muscular. Definitely
Yeah.
it is, and but again, it's something that, and Derek had like I say he told me, look, I don't really like the way the drums sound on the original. I mean, we didn't have much time to mix this album when it did back in the days. But this getting in the way of this album being a classic and everybody loving this album. No, it's not at all. But if you have the possibility to do it again, that's yeah, right. That's the way I want to listen. That's like, can you make this beefier? Can you get my brother's bass pop out? Yes. So it's like, well, we try, we're experimenting, we push the boundaries, we're trying to do something that's like more, um, um, I don't know, more like the way that he wants it, the band wants it.
Yeah, did you get feedback from the band
Yeah,
throughout this process? Like, was everyone
yeah.
listening, or was it primarily Derek?
No, it's like the process usually like I work on the song, I send the mix, and then he listen, and then he come to the studio, and then we do like a couple sessions, Derek and I. When both happy, you send to the band adds like, okay, oh, keyboard should be a little bit of this, guitar, bass, whatever. Send the comments, we address the comments, and then we do again. And then and when everybody's happy, whole band, then we're good. That usually was the process. So each song, it took a while because us doing other projects. Derek was doing the book, and everybody's schedule was hard to get like in sync. So I think like beginning to end, we took like a 6 months doing like this project, like the stereo the thing mix.
Do you have any particular highlights in the music? Maybe things that you hadn't heard before or realized was there? Like, what are
Ah,
your highlights from this process and the outcome?
I was in shock, honestly, when I got this stamp. When I each song when I was playing back, I had this minute of like a fan of listening to this. It's like how they did this, how this is possible, and it's like it's unbelievable. I mean, it's just like it's truly unbelievable. It's like the quality of this band, the quality of the musicians, each one of them. It's unbelievable. It's like they play so well. It's mind blowing. So for me, it was like I was really enjoying the process. Like having access to this material is just like as a mixer, it's like and a fan. I was like, wow, it's fantastic to have a chance to work on this. Like
Absolutely.
just happy. It's like it's not every day you cross you cross ways with a project like this with a band with this quality. It's like
Yeah.
I don't know who you put it like side by side. Pink Floyd, like that's that song that has like the bunch of
Cash
glasses.
registers and the glass, yeah.
So it's like, and then I told Derek, it's like, wow, Pink Floyd did this with money, with
Yeah.
yeah, and say no, we did before. So
Yeah.
you see, like how wow, probably Pink Floyd took him from them, and this is like how important this band is for like for the whole history of music. Questlove, Derek was telling me that Questlove, when he went to Questlove saw him and say, "Oh my God, you're Derek Shulman," and then talk about Questlove, the roots, and I think Gentle Giant. It's like became a lot of people from hip hop,
Yeah.
artists from hip hop. It's crossover. Gentle Giant. It's like this whole thing because the music's so outstanding. It's fantastic. It's I don't
Okay,
know if I
so
answered your question. Sorry. I
I
was
think
just
so, but I think Ian is going to care more about this than I will. What stereo mix did you start with? Ian he was talking about all the various releases to me before you got on. So
so what's the question? Sorry.
which
I
edi-
think Anthony's asking what was your source for the master?
It's like the source for the master was
Yeah.
the album that they remastered a couple years ago with Fred Kevorkian. I think Derek told me this remaster was the one that he thinks sounds better. So we took him from there. He brought the yes, that's the
That's
one.
the one. Yeah, the one from 2009. Yeah, I
Yes.
thought so because when I compared it, I could kind of notice some of the same signatures. But I think there was a subsequent master of this on the Unburied Treasure box set that some people like better, but I found this used like a year or so ago, and I think it sounds terrific. So
Yeah.
yeah, when I was hearing your new mixes, I was going back to this one and
Yeah.
found them
So I
very
took it.
similar.
Yeah, I took it from there. So he brought the CD. I import to the DAW from there.
Hmm, amazing.
Yeah.
Ian, I know you had a whole bunch of questions come from your viewers. Is there anything else you wanted to address on their behalf?
Yes, and it's perfectly acceptable if your answer is I don't know or I can't say. But one of the questions that I think I received the most is, has there been any discussion or plans to go back to some of the earlier albums that are missing multitracks, like Acquiring the Taste or Three Friends?
Not at the moment. No, no. I think like this project could open like a door for like a missing for projects that had the same problem.
Sure.
And I know in Brazil that some big artists there had the same problem, especially like with all this merge, like a BMI, EMI was sold to Warner, and then anybody can find the original tape. So some artists, some classic albums are in the same situation. So I think like AI is getting better and better. 6 months from now, probably like AI is going to be way powerful, much more powerful, than it was when I mixed this project. So I think like this could be like maybe eye opening for okay if some bands they not happy with or they want to try something or they want to experimenting or doing Atmos and then they need the stamps. They can do it now. It's like there's a possibility.
Yeah, and I know that talking about AI, it's like an ethical question. And what I've told my subscribers is that, in my opinion, this is the proper use of AI. I wouldn't necessarily want somebody to just go back and do this in the case where multitracks were available. However, in lieu of multitracks, this makes a lot of sense and could rescue some, like as you said, some lost stuff.
Yeah, and I think like if you think about AI, it's like it's such a like it comes this word comes nowadays with like such a heavy weight.
Yeah,
It's AI, and everybody no, I don't like it. It's AI, but this is like we're not like a use AI to there's a missing word, and then we sample Derek's voice, and then AI's thing. No,
right.
that's not the case. We just use AI. I agree with you. The best use you can do it. Just to give you like some multi-track to work with.
Yeah, there's nothing generative here. To
No,
me,
nothing.
it would be a much I would have a much bigger problem if, say, you used Suno to generate a new Gentle Giant song.
No, not
But
at all. No.
do you find that the term AI is a bit of a misnomer in this case?
Well, yes. Well, I mean, I would say like split stems is the best.
Or
Then
demixing?
what? Demixing, I don't know, but I think split stems or like a reverse engineering I like to use a lot because it's completely opposite. But
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you when you start a project, you end up with like two tracks. I started with two tracks to get like a multi-track and go back to two tracks. So I think like I don't know if AI is the right term, but I get it. Like, oh, but use split stems is AI based technology. Yes, but well, let's talk about it. It's not like we didn't create anything new with AI. We just like took what was there and gave us possibilities.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
and if you read Derek Shulman's book, the band were under quite a bit of duress at the time. So
Yeah,
I'm sure he appreciated this opportunity to go back and probably make some choices that they would have liked to have made back then,
yeah,
if they were in the right mindset.
yeah. I think like when if I don't know if you read the book, the one that they released like a couple of months ago.
Hmm.
Um, and then like there's one chapter, it's like back to happiness, and then it's like this chapter start when we start doing the process. And then I think for him was something that he say, look, I never thought this would be possible.
Yeah.
You know, I had a couple things in my mind that I would love to do it, and but I never thought this would be possible. So having this feedback with the band was, I was like, wow, it's look, I mean, it's kind of mind blowing, you know.
Yeah.
Imagine like if you work on an album like, I don't know, in the 70s, and then now in 2026, in 2026, you lost the tapes, and now you have the opportunity to do it. I mean, if I was the singer, if I was the you know, if I was the band, I would do it. I would take it. You know, I
Yeah.
would.
Oh, sure.
That's right.
I would too. And I think what Derek said in his book, and Anthony, I know you had a question, but I think what Derek said in his book was that he was in tears when he heard
Yeah,
it. So that must have been a really powerful moment for you to
yeah,
experience that with him.
totally, totally. And then and that's the thing. Like I had like such a respect for this original album,
Yeah.
and then that was like you know, yeah, try not to create something new. Try just to, you know, create a new sense for people to experience in a different way, but keeping like the feeling of the classical. You know, that was definitely the idea.
All right, so there's a vinyl release, and it's transparent vinyl, which is awesome. I've never seen that before. And there's a CD release and a Blu-ray with high res and surround and Atmos. Did you master uh, separately for vinyl, or is it the same mix
Yes,
and master?
yeah, we did like Fred Kevorkian, the same master engineer that mastered this release. He did like this new mix, and he did the master for vinyl as well. So the
Okay.
Atmos I mastered, and yeah, that was it.
Well, man, I think you did a phenomenal job. Um,
Thank you.
I personally, it's hard for me to feel like I can offer an objective opinion on it. But when I listened to the entire stereo mix just straight through, uh, I was tearing up. And even just right now thinking about that moment, like this album has just such incredible, incredible music.
Yeah,
And you did such a good job in
thank you.
presenting it. I know there are people who are gonna, disagree, but I think this sounds fresh and wonderful and alive. I got to interview Ray Shulman before he died, and he said he just wished he could, with the Steven Wilson remixes, he could just toss the old mixes away and instead of honoring, what was, just do what we can right now to make it sound as good as possible. And it's interesting for you to say that you kept the spirit of the original and that Derek wanted that as well. Because when I listen to this, I'm like, finally. Because all the Steven Wilson remixes, I'm like, they sound great. I love them. But this one feels like this album could have come out 10 years ago. It what you've done, I think, presents the music in a transformative light that I appreciate, and I'm glad that it will alienate some people. But those are just my thoughts. I just want to commend you on the good hard work, and I want to.
Thank you, man.
If anybody out there is like on the fence about buying this because of AI or because I don't like the sound, just remember the only reason these projects happen is when we buy them. And so
Hmm.
I just want to encourage people, support musicians, support good music. These are interesting projects. And if Gentle Giant paved the way for Pink Floyd, imagine what you just done now with a stereo to multi-track mix, of a great sounding album.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you for your words. It means a lot, and I know, you know, and it's like we put so much love into this. It's like we put so much love, so much respect, and for everything they've done, everything like you know, this album represents for everybody, you know. And I know as a fan of music, you know, we work on music because we love music. We have attachment to these projects. We like the way they sound, any change, yeah, you're gonna. It takes a minute to watch. I think like you have to listen. You have to enjoy this version. Listen with fresh ears and enjoy. That's my my. I don't know if that's advice, but that's the way I would do it. Just listen,
Yeah.
and enjoy.
My final thought is I think that this new version could actually work in conversation with the old one because I found that I was hearing your new version and thinking, wow, I'm hearing so many more details and textures that I've never noticed before. Then I was going back to the original. I'm like, oh, they're there.
Yeah,
They're
right.
just they're deeper in the mix, you know?
Yeah, it review a couple things that it was like a bury in
Yeah.
frequency wise or volume wise, and we have to remember that automation back in the days it wasn't it wasn't there, so we had
Yeah.
to do it like maybe six hands on the desk, pushing volumes and taking notes and punching and cutting tape and doing all this the process. Now it's you just volume. So, but we take it for granted, right? Because you can
Yeah.
have like a session, gigantic session, you have like so much automation. But back in the days was way harder. So I think like you're right. We work on those details, and those details, Derek knew them for like so
Yeah.
many years. It's like, oh man, I wish this could be a little louder. So
Yeah.
I think like finally we get there.
And if there's one thing that we all can learn, it is that Kerry Minnear is an incredible vibe player. He did not do enough.
Mm.
Like that everyone goes on about Ruth Underwood as like the best vibe player, but Kerry's solo on The Runaway is just the way that you mixed it and brought it out front. You can hear that was a thing for me. You can hear the instrument. It's not just like the notes. You're hearing the fullness of the instrument. So that was another thing I was super impressed about.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Fantastic. I love it. Love it. Happy to hear that.
If you enjoyed this interview and you want to know more about the In a Glass House remix, I actually got to interview Derek Shulman, John Weathers, the drummer, and Gary Green, the guitarist, about this remix, and that's coming out on the channel real soon, so be sure to check that out. And watch, we have tons of other Gentle Giant content on the channel, so if you like the band, check it out. And if you want to learn how to get into Gentle Giant, I have a video called Gentle Giant 101. Go check that out. There's a full playlist, and hopefully that'll get your feet wet and you can start enjoying this music the way that I do and so many others do. Thanks a lot for watching.